Thank you, everyone, for joining. This should be an amazing time tonight. I'm really excited. We have some amazing individuals, and I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves. But first, I want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Emma Hunt, and this is my sign name. I am the founder of Sign by Stories. So just a picture description, I'm wearing a green button-down shirt. It stops about 3/4 down my arm. I have blonde curly hair. I have green eyes. In my background, as you see, a white door, and then also white walls. All right, let's see, who can we pass it off to? Whoever wants to kick us off.
I'll go. My name is Carlafrances. My name sign is CF at my heart, and I'm from Virginia. And I have a shirt on. How would I describe it? It's from Amazon, but my shirt shows a person with Afro puffs. She has green hair and 2 puffs, one on each side of her head, and she has butterflies in her hair. She also has green earrings that have butterflies on them. And robins, they also have robins and ribbons rather. And I have a back wall that is just plain. There's nothing on it. That's all about me. Hi, I just want to clarify what Carla said, that she has earrings that have ribbons on them. That has ribbons, not butterflies, just for a clarification. Yes, that's right. Okay. You want to go? Oh, hi. My name is Julia, everyone, and it's spelled Julia Kennedy. And my sign name is J at my cheek. I have 2 introductions because I'm at Hampton University, and I'm not a practicum student, but more of a trainee. I'm in training. So I'd like to introduce myself as that so they know that I am in training, that I'm actually at the university. And the university, again, that I'm at is in Hampton. I'm at Hampton University. And I am a student. I will start over again and say hello since other people have joined. Hello, my name is Julia. And I am from Virginia. I'll be graduating. I'm a senior this year. And my major is in
Do you mind repeating your major? Mind going back and repeating your major?
Yes. My major is in English and also in film. Those are my majors, in English and film. And also, I am a disability advocate. Oh, that was beautiful. Look good.
Do you mind
Oh, can you
describing your
just
image as well?
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. I will be describing myself. I have brown skin. I'm a female. I have a black shirt on and with writing, and the word says brave, cerebral palsy, and then it's a crown, a brown crown, and it's in white font. The word brave is in white font, and cerebral palsy, and the ribbon is in green. It's hard to see the bottom of it, but it says Queen. You just can't see it on Zoom.
Great.
All right. Oh, and also I forgot to tell you, I have pink glasses on and pink lipstick. And my black background, you can't really see it really clear. I filtered it so it's pretty blurry, so you can't see what's in the background, but there's a picture.
All right. Hello. My name is Katy. This is my sign name. It's the 3 snaps. So let me describe my background. So same as Julia, my background is blurry. I have short curly hair. I have glasses and earrings with the I love you sign. My shirt is black and it has white and green writing on it. That says in March we wear green. And then you can't see it's on the bottom, but I do have a heart on my shirt as well. Emma saying, great, thank you. Thank you all for that very elaborate introduction explanation. That's definitely teaching me how to improve myself, so thank you for that. So we're going to start with some questions. So for the audience, maybe you're not familiar with cerebral palsy. Maybe you're curious about what it is, what it means, maybe how it affects each individual. So can each of you maybe describe how you found your identity with cerebral palsy? And whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Can you repeat that for me? The first question, I do understand it, but the second question I wasn't sure of. So can you repeat that?
Sure. So just an explanation that would describe, let's see, maybe your journey through how you identify your journey as a person with cerebral palsy. What does that look like? What was your, what was your experience?
Sure. For there's different types of cerebral palsy. It's one that's I'm trying, let me see. I think Carla, she probably can help me a bit more with this. How do you spell it, Carla? I know it's D. Yes, that's what it is. It's DY, it's dyskinetic. And there's I believe that's what it is. I'm not really sure of the spelling, if I'm spelling it right or not. But other people, they'll probably see my finger spelling and correct it. But there's different types of cerebral palsy. And the type of cerebral palsy that I believe I have is either spastic, I believe, which is a minimal amount. Oh. And the other one I believe is, that starts with an A. But for the interpreter, I'll clarify. Again, it's A. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I just.
Let me help you. Let me help you. ATOXIA.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And that's the kind that I have, but a lot of people don't know that I have cerebral palsy. Before that time, before cerebral palsy was made known, A lot of people weren't aware of what cerebral palsy was. People would just kind of look at a person that's cerebral palsy and think that maybe they're just a bit strange or a bit weird. And they just thought that we weren't human, but we're human like everyone else. Not until sixth grade is when my, I guess, awareness, or I became fully engrossed or aware of not until second grade. That's not until second grade. That's an interpreter error. Not until second grade was it that my world became crashing down. And I remember the reason why is because I was told that I had CP, or cerebral palsy. And I thought when I heard that, that meant I couldn't do anything. So I arrived home and told my mom and dad that I was told I had cerebral palsy. And my mom and dad were so mad because they did not want that to be told to me. They wanted that to be told to me as I became older, but not at that time because it was viewed as a disability. But it was too late because I was already told that I had cerebral palsy. So I felt bad for my mother that that was what I was told, because she had a really hard time and she was trying to do everything that she could to stop it. But I learned how to eat myself. I learned how to bathe myself. And they thought that having CP meant that I couldn't do any of these things. They had a laundry list of things that I couldn't do. And my mom said, no, 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 no. She tried to encourage me to become independent. And she kept trying over and over and over again. And it was hard. It was hard. It was. And sometimes I would just say, I just can't do that. I can't do that. I can't. I became frustrated myself because I felt like I just couldn't do it. Until seventh grade, my dad told me different individuals that had CP, and they were a role model for me because they showed me that I could be independent. I saw one that was a cheerleader. And when I saw that, I said, that person has cerebral palsy and is a cheerleader? And at a high level, a high level cheerleader. I felt like maybe they just had her sit and cheer. I can't remember what it was, but just with that sport, I was just so surprised that there's actually people with CP that can do several things, which meant that I can do those things too. So I started to realize that I can do other things independently. And my mom and dad said, finally, you realize you can be independent too. And that gave me my identity back. So I tried to learn and accept my disability. It was a struggle. Yes, it was. It was a struggle. And some days I don't like what my arm is doing. I don't. Some days I just don't like it. But I see other people who have two hands and see what they can do. And I just look and say, wow, I would love to do those things that they can do. But I can do things with one hand, or, something like driving or just doing things. But when I see my arm, I realize I feel I can't do those things. But then I try to think of my motto. And my dad, he set up a motto for me. He says, if you can't do it this way, then why not find another way to do it? Find another way around it. So if you can't do it that way, it's fine. Sorry, I just wanted to move back into the screen. Find another way around it to complete that same activity. And I'm so happy that I have parental support. I mean, I have amazing parental support and I have an amazing system and supportive system. So it starts from there. I think in ninth grade in high school, that was the first year that I started to bring awareness and realizing that my deaf friends were behind. And the hearing people already knew that I had CP, but the deaf people didn't know. So I started bringing awareness in my school, in my high school, for the deaf individuals. Then when I was 18 years old, I finally had my own Instagram and Facebook page. And again, I started showing and spreading awareness again that way. Now, my account was private at that time until my junior year. I decided, you know what? I want to make this public because I want people to realize me, and I want other people to realize that you can move forward. And you can, I went ahead and took the risk and let people know that you can move forward. And I had so many individuals that were saying that they appreciated my website, and I thank you for that.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. Carlafrances, would you like to add anything?
Oh, yes. I'm happy with me having CP. And the type of CP I have is dyskinetic. And that means that your muscle tone in your entire body doesn't always cooperate. So sometimes my muscles, they won't cooperate. But I mean, I know it's not all about me, but sometimes they feel like they just are disjointed. So sometimes they cooperate, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's like my body wants to go every which direction. One wants to go left, one wants to go right. And I have good drawing skills. I do, and good art skills. I can cook well. I can. But it takes time. It does take me time. And it's a lot of work, a lot of practice, and much, much patience. I have to be really patient with myself and what I can do. And when I get nervous and I can do the task, I give myself a pat on the back. Even though after I cook, I have to wash all these dishes myself. So that's how I would answer that.
So I have a little bit of a different story than Carlafrances and Julia. So I grew up in South Africa. I was on a small island. Cape Verde Islands. It's more Western Africa. And like I said, it was a really small island. And that's where I grew up. And I wasn't aware of my CP. They just said that I couldn't walk. You know, I'm grateful for my family. My family would come around and help take care of me. They would make sure that I had everything that I needed. They would talk to me. They'd give me attention. So backing up my mom was a single mother. And she would tell me the story. Now, she was fully grown when she had me. She would tell me the story that we didn't have great technology at the time, so it was hard for us to really identify that I had CP at all. So we'd have to fly to another place to see the doctors and get the technology that we needed. So we'd do the tests and the screening and see what was going on. And I wouldn't respond to sound, and there wasn't a lot of movement. And so, of course, everyone's thinking that there's something wrong with me. So let's go and see the doctor. And when they told my mom that I was deaf, they were shocked. My mom was shocked. So then we decided to do a lot of research and figure out what school would be the best for me to go to, what school could best accommodate my needs. And now where I was on that island, there were no deaf schools. And they didn't have programs for kids with disabilities as well. And like I said earlier, we were pretty behind in technology. So again, that's when my mom decided to do even more research, and that's when they decided to bring me here to America. I moved to Washington, D.C. And at that time where we had to drive, it was like right outside of DC. So I had to drive into DC and find a school. And so, of course, with such a big move, that was a really big change for me. It was very overwhelming with the different cultures. There are different traditions that I had to get accustomed to. It was a lot going on for me to be introduced to. Just trying to figure out what to do here in America. And, of course, back at home with my family, we had everything that we needed, and I was used to everything there. So I did have to let go of that when I moved to America. And then in elementary school, I remember, oh my goodness, the very first day was extremely overwhelming. There was so much going on. There's a lot of sign everywhere. It all seemed, I don't know, all seemed normal, but there was still something that was a little bit not right for me. I remember still having trouble walking, and at the time, didn't have any equipment for me to use. So then they took me to a specialist, and they were able to find the right equipment to help me become a little bit more independent with walking. And I think when I became maybe 9.5, I had my own device with me. So then I think around 10 or 11, they wanted to have a surgery on my legs. So I was sitting down, I remember sitting down with my mom, and I was like, what's actually going on? What are we talking about? What are the doctors doing? And then that's when my mom was explaining that I had cerebral palsy. So my type is spastic.
Dysplasia.
Spastic dysplasia. And what that means is my muscles will tense up, or when I'm walking, I'll feel very stiff. And that also kind of connects up to my back as well, to my spine. And there's something that's not connected there. So of course that affects my movement. And so I'd have to be in charge of moving my legs. They wouldn't be able to just do it as you would see other individuals be able to just walk. And so with all the different types of CP, I was, figuring out which one that I had. And when they were able to identify which one I had, I then I was learning about mine, and it kind of made more sense. It made more sense of why I was struggling to do what I wanted to do. And then I didn't want to accept it at first. I didn't have any friends that were like me. So none of who I talked to, it was hard for them to really understand the struggles that I was going through. As I became older and as I became an adult, I realized, why am I avoiding learning about myself? I need to learn to love myself and accept myself. And finally, I met a few other individuals. They're also deaf and had CP. I thought there were no other individuals like that on this earth, but I was able to meet some amazing people. I was able to make great connections, and then I was kind of overjoyed with all the connections I was able to make and see the people that I could identify with here on this earth.
For the interpreter, I just want to clarify what Katy said. She didn't say that she accepted it. She said she was learning how to embrace it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And she was learning how to embrace it. Just to clarify. I know maybe you thought she signed accept, but no, she didn't mean that. She meant embrace it.
Thank you. I'm saying thank you for sharing your stories. I'm curious as how your experience, maybe the deaf experience or your deaf identity, how did that impact your development as well?
Well, that's a good question, Julia's saying. Oh.
So I already accepted that I was deaf before CP. And how I identified is kind of a funny story, you might laugh. So in my country, like I said, we didn't have great technology. So again, it's a really funny story. I remember me and my two cousins, we were really close in age. And so we were laying with each other in the bed. It was time to go to sleep. And all of the other family members were downstairs just chatting, doing whatever they were doing downstairs. And the window was open. So we were all asleep, everything's fine. And then because of the strong wind, one of the doors that was open also slammed closed. And then so my cousins were like, jolted and got up because they were scared. And I was just sitting there sleeping peacefully, just resting like an angel. And my aunt and my mom came running upstairs, wanted to make sure everything was okay. There was the slam and the screaming. And then they were looking at me just sleeping peacefully. And they're like, oh, okay, that's strange. Why didn't you react to the door that slammed shut and the loud thunder that was outside? And the loud noise, excuse me. And so my mom waked me up to make sure I was alive, even make sure everything was okay. The other moms are holding their kids and saying, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, like it's gonna be okay. Just kind of consoling them. And then I remember I went to get a hearing test.
Where at? A portal? Or Portugal? Portugal.
This is the old sign for Portugal. We would use this sign for Portugal.
The interpreter saying, can you repeat that a bit? Sorry, you mind? Just after the screening part, if you don't mind to repeat that.
Yep, so we took the hearing test, took the screening, and then that's when we figured out that I was fully deaf. And my whole family really accepted it right away. And I know my mom did have a little bit of hard time understanding me. But other than that, my family was really a great support system. And that's kind of my story. I'm saying that's great.
Hi, this is Carla. When my mom found out I was deaf after I got CP. Because the CP affected my deafness. So my mom found out after I had CP. So that's my story.
So if you don't mind sharing, what was that experience like, maybe in school or outside of school?
Yes, my mom, hmm, one of my mom's friends who saw me said, she's blessed. She's blessed. She's an amazing girl. She's such an amazing girl. My mom said, yes, she is. But my mom agreed. My mom did agree. And then she just accepted me for who I am. Yeah. She pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed me to be the best that I am right now. Yeah, she really did. Julia, mine's a long story. It took a long time for a diagnosis. But I'll start. I was thinking I'll have to explain the beginning of the story and the reason why I have CP and why I'm deaf. My mom has 3 babies and she was pregnant with triplets. Okay.
Yep. Triplets.
And the doctor said, it's an emergency. You need to have an emergency surgery. You need to deliver the babies early. You have to get the babies out in order to save my mom too. So she had to go to the hospital. She had to have surgery. She had a C-section. He got the babies out. My mom woke up. She was alive. And the 3 babies were doing well, but they were premature because they were born early. I want to say they were born 3 to 6 months. So my brother was born first, then my sister was born second, and I was the last one out. My brother was alive for 1 hour. I'm sorry, 74 hours, 72 hours. My brother was alive for 72 hours and then he died or passed away. Now, my brother, he passed away. I don't know if it was my brother or my sister. I can't remember. I don't know which of them. But one of them had kidney failure. My sister, she was alive for 10 days. And then she passed away. 10 days later, she passed away. Now, I'm not sure if it's because she didn't have enough oxygen or I'm not really sure why. I saw my father's notes and he was trying to explain the notes that he wrote down. The doctor thought that I wouldn't live either because my brother and sister both died. So the doctor he didn't realize that I was going to be alive. And luckily, my mom's family and the people there, my dad too, and my dad's people, they were there too. They were rooting for me to stay alive. So the doctor was wrong. The doctor thought that I wouldn't survive, but I survived. And then the doctor found out that I had bleeding in my brain. Yes, bleeding in my brain. And I didn't have enough oxygen because I didn't have enough oxygen. So they had to make sure that I could still breathe. And so I had a breathing tube and a breathing machine. And my parents found out that I was deaf because I failed the hearing test. And I have a little bit funny story in regards to that. It was on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. I would pass the hearing test a few times, and then they did the hearing test again, and then I would fail the hearing test. So they realized I was deaf. And then I had a CP diagnosis. The doctor examined me and said I had CP and that I was deaf. My parents didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what things that they needed to have for me as a child. And the doctor provided some options. He said that I could get a cochlear implant so I could hear sound. I could learn sign language. My father listened and realized that I wasn't a candidate for the cochlear implant. They would need to do surgery in the back of the ear. And the doctor said that was an option for me at the time. So my parents were fine with that. They said they prefer to wait till I was older anyways, if that's what I decided to do for myself. My dad did a lot of work and a lot of research. My mom did too, but my parents did a lot of research, constant research about deaf people. They talked with people at CP, they talked to the physical therapist, trying to understand what it is that I needed, what things they needed to provide for me. At that time, they had a great program, and they had a great program for kids with disability. And also for the school, that school fit me and the needs that I had. So we had to move to St. Louis. At the time, we were in Iowa. We had to move to St. Louis because I could learn speech there. And there was a better school there in St. Louis. There's also a deaf school that is in Washington, D.C. And it's near Gallaudet. So my parents were thrilled about that. And so we moved to Maryland when I was 3 years old. We moved there. And that was when I started to learn American Sign Language more than I'd already had in St. Louis. St. Louis, I did learn sign language, but I learned it more so in Maryland. So when my parents saw me learning sign language, they realized they want to be able to talk with their daughter. So they learned American Sign Language by taking classes. Also, the staff would show me how to sign things. My parents would associated with a deaf teacher. So they really accepted me, all of me at that time. But understand, I'm a little bit different because at home, we use natural communication and sign language. We write, or total communication rather, in sign language. You write or we sign. So we can speak or we may sign. And I'm really happy. I'm really happy my parents accepted the whole of me and who I am. I do have more to say, but that's all I'll say for now.
Oh, thank you. And it's interesting for me to learn about your experience. Definitely with your parents finding out, they're having, okay, my kid has CP, or my kid is deaf. Oh my goodness. So it's just amazing to see, the research that your parents were able to do, figuring out how they're able to best support their kids, finding the language, finding the schools.
It is. It is. It's a bit harder too with CP because I need physical therapy or other types of therapy, and they had having to learn how to walk, having to learn how to do
And Katy's saying
different things.
balance as well.
Right, balance. And Carla saying being independent. So it was a little bit tough for me, Julia saying, because I had everything, language I needed to learn, plus learning how to use my motor skills with PT.
In class as well. In class, Carla's at.
Right. And Joya said also too, having a hearing family. So I had to learn speech. I had to go to speech therapy. Carla saying, yes, I had to do speech therapy too. Julia saying, so it pushed us. It challenged us because for me, I have a hard time with the school system because the school system, and how should I say this? They automatically think what they automatically think about you and what they think you need. So Carla saying, I agree, right?
Needs.
Well, and I appreciate my parents are like, well, my daughter, this is what my daughter needs. And so they would fight all the time. Despite what the school said I need, my parents would fight for me all the time, telling my daughter's smart, she can do this, this, and this. So the school system thinks that a person who has CP, it impacts their intelligence, but it doesn't. It does not impact their cognitive ability. And so I had to constantly fight. My parents had to constantly fight. And when we would go to school, they would have to meet with the people and explain over and over and over again what it is that I needed. One school in particular I moved from because my parents realized that that particular school, my education was not priority. And because my parents felt like they had to pull me out of that school and move me to another school, which was MSD, which is in Fredericksburg. I mean, I'm not trying to advertise it, but it is a deaf institute for deaf individuals. So when I went to that school, I continued to succeed, but my parents knew that yes, I have special needs, but my parents, along my grandma, my grandparents, I would go to my grandparents' house every day after school while my parents were working. And my grandparents would pick me up. We would have dinner together at bedtime, at bedtime. So we would have dinner together. My grandparents sometimes wouldn't understand why it felt like I wasn't being challenged enough. So they told my parents, I noticed it seems like home is easy for her. And my parents felt like something wasn't right. So my parents met with the school and said, why is my daughter's homework not challenging enough for her? So the school told my parents that I was in a special needs class. And my parents said, no, she can learn like everyone else, all the other students. And they basically were kind of arguing back and forth. My parents had to find another school because that school didn't support the needs that I had. So I went to a different school, and that was at TSD. Now, my parents picked that school. I picked the Maryland School for the Deaf in Fredericksburg. I wanted that one because I wanted to be in that high school and I wanted to be near my family. I didn't want to go far away in Texas where I wouldn't be close to my family. So I wanted family familial support. So I fought with my parents for about 2 hours, but my mom and dad were insistent and said, you're going to TSD, period. So I had no other choice but to accept what they said. And now as I look back, I think that was the best decision that they ever could have made. Because at TSD, I had to take a placement test. They asked me if I needed it. I said yes. And they said, you can go to a regular middle school. My parents were thrilled because they didn't have to fight to prove that I was intelligent because the proof was in the pudding, it was right there in the paper. So I went to a regular school. It was tough because they still wanted to send me to special need classes. The teachers wanted to send me to special needs classes. So my parents fought again and again and again and said, no, she is my daughter. She's equally as intelligent as everyone else. So they fought for my opportunities. And I showed that taking the test and completing my homework, I was able to do the work. They didn't accept it agreeably, but they did accept it. So I had a hard time with the teachers. Sometimes I would have to remind the teachers or tell, not for help, but I would have to ask for more time. And sometimes the teachers say, well, why do you need more time? Do you need a tutor? Are you having a hard time? And I would say, yeah, I just need more time. So sometimes they would say no, or they would ask why. Or I would ask them, are you saying you're not going to follow the accommodations that are needed? And then the teachers would kind of hesitate and say, oh, no, 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 no. So I would tell my parents. My parents were very involved and had to take action with the high school and talk to the principal and tell them that it's not right. So I was late for one class one time because of me having to walk from the bus to class. Because that campus is huge. It's not like, here's the bus, drops you off in front door and you can get into your class. That campus is huge. So I had to walk from one building, use the elevator, take the elevator up, walk down the hall, into the classroom. And this is the
Okay, so
interpreter
you're
speaking.
freezing a little
Julia is
bit.
frozen.
Emma's saying, let's maybe give her a few minutes. And Katie's saying, yeah, seems like a good idea. Emma's saying, all right, do we have any other thoughts or anything? I'm just, I had one thought kind of pop up. And you said that your parents, Katie, were looking for different resources and different resources to help with someone that was deaf or someone that has CP. So what were those resources like? What was that journey like?
Yes, just looking for different resources. And like I said before, my parents, they'd have an open mind of about different children or things that I could do or what children still could do. Um, and maybe try to find something that would be enjoyable that kids would enjoy doing, the same as other kids. So, yes, same things that other kids like to do. And also, that's all.
Katie's saying, I'd like to answer the question. Um, hmm. So I remember when I moved to America from the other country. Oh, sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. So I remember entering elementary school. My mom was trying to figure out what would be the best match for me, what accommodations I needed, if I needed to be in the regular classes or special needs classes. And I remember I went into the special needs class. And I remember it was a classroom full of delayed learners. And so we're like, okay, so we're going through the motions and figuring out, going through everything that we needed to learn. We're looking at the students who are special needs and maybe weren't specifically special needs, but they would label us special needs in that classroom. So as we're going through this, I'm thinking, and I think I was in middle school when I had realized that the work was kind of the same. I kind of felt burnt out of the work and just over what we were doing. The middle school director, I remember that they came in and they were trying to challenge some of the students and they wanted to put me in the regular class. So it seemed more so like that middle school didn't really believe in me. So then they'd have to call my mom. And I remember I was trying to tell them, like, I can do the work. You can give me whatever test or anything. And they're looking at me kind of hesitant. They didn't really believe me. And then my mom definitely believed in me. She was willing to do anything she needed for me.
I just want to clarify. It's a SAT placement test. You can go ahead.
Okay, so they were giving me that placement test. That's fine, sure, okay. And they're saying, are you sure you can do this? I'm saying, yes, go ahead. My mom, is right there and believed in me. Said, go ahead, take the test. So then we went to high school and took a placement test. And of course, I proved them wrong. All right, I was able to get out of this test out of the special needs class, and they put me in the regular classroom. And that was one of my biggest challenges back in my school days as well. My grades were pretty good. But I remember, my mom, she believed me, was also shocked. Of course, like I said, she believed in me. Sometimes I had difficulty reading or, whatever it was, but she believed in me that I was able to be successful. And it seemed that a lot of people look at individual with CP as like low cognitive level or low intelligence, and that's not the case. It's just a label, that's it. There are different cognitive levels amongst any and everyone that has CP. For me, yeah, I had some challenges when I got through school, and then I transferred to Boston. And I remember they said I wasn't qualified enough for their advanced program. I was like, okay, all right, fine. So my mom was like, what?
So she was saying that she was qualified, but she didn't meet their requirements for their program.
So that school had given me like a lot of special needs, maybe low-level grades or something like that. And for me, like I said, I was overqualified. So they said, all right, so what do you suggest for me? Do I need to go to another school, or are you able to make accommodations for this school? So I went to another school. And then they decided to have me go to a mainstream school. And I graduated. And I realized again, like, I can do this. Even though I do have the label of CP, I can do this. I was able to prove them wrong and successfully graduate.
Right.
There's physical and mental challenges that come along with it.
Yes. Sorry I wasn't finished my story. My Wi-Fi disconnected and there I was. So most of you would probably be shocked to say, or may think, seriously? I want to say 9 years, I think it's been.
Mm-hmm.
But my GPA was so in ninth grade, my GPA was 3.1. And when I was a senior in senior quarter, on the fourth quarter, I had a 4.0 GPA. So imagine that, 4.0 GPA. I felt so good. And I told mom I have a 4.0 in high school. And I just felt like, just thinking about what my mom said and following in my mom's footsteps. I couldn't believe that I actually followed in my mom's footsteps. So as I continue along and I got closer and closer to graduating, my father wanted to know what my rank was. But you have a ranking in class. And so my father wanted to know what my rank was. He thought maybe it would be different from other students. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's a degree, but it's not really a degree. Can't remember. It's different. What is it called? It's like a high school test, but it's different than other states. My high school, you had to pick one, either art or be a part of a STEM program or something else, mechanics. You mean a program, Carla saying? Right, it's a program, but I have two. So I picked STEM. STEM with art and film. And film. So I chose those two. I chose a dual track. And my mom wanted to find out what my class ranking is. So my parents found out I was in 4th place. My mom screamed. She said, "What did you say? Say it again, say it again." And this, "Are you in 4th place? You're in 4th place?" Then my mom told me I was in 4th place, and it was at the perfect time because I got an award. It was awards day. So it was before I graduated. I was like, "Oh, it's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and I don't want to be spotlighted. I don't." And my dad said, "Do it. Don't you want people to know? Because people don't believe that you can do what you did, that you were in 4th place." So I thank my family for making the decision and believing in me. I was so excited. I was so excited. And I was so excited to get that award and achieve what I achieved. I was thrilled. When I got, they just screamed. I saw a lot of people's faces. People were stunned. They were shocked because it's rare to see. It's rare to see. It's somebody to get. I was almost close to getting VAL and ASL, VAL and ASL. I was almost close to it. I felt like maybe they'll pick me because I'll be in the front. I was sat in the front. So Val and ASL, so excited. We're all looking at each other. Val, I know that person. I know that person. And so we're all looking at each other. And I was thinking, if I get valedictorian, I didn't know if I would get picked, but I worked so hard. I worked so hard through high school. I did. And my parents fought for me. My parents believed in me. They pushed me to work hard and gave me the opportunity to do that, especially my parents and my mom. I see, at deaf schools, I've seen it plenty of times at deaf universities, Gallaudet, there's deaf universities, there's Gallaudet. There's other universities that are for deaf individuals, and that's it. But that's not all that's available. I mean, that's all that's available for deaf focused. So I just want to let you know you can go anywhere you want to go. You can go anywhere. It doesn't have to be just a deaf university solely. You can go anywhere you want to go, any college you want to go. You can go to Gallaudet if you want to. You can go to HBCU college if you want to. You can go anywhere you want to go. And when that was brought up to me, I said, "Thanks, Mom." And so I started looking for an HBCU college. And I went to my dad's university. My dad went to Howard University. And I went there. I researched his university. And I told my dad I would like to go there for my undergrad program. And my dad said, no, 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 no. You will not, they won't have the things that you need. I said, I will be fine if you graduate, if you do it as a graduate program, but not for undergrad. I was like, really? And I told my parents, but I want to go to a historically Black college. And so they told me about Hampton University. I thought, okay. I'll apply to Hampton University. And I said, I got accepted. I actually got accepted. My mom screamed and screamed. She was just hooping and hollering. She's like, I can't believe you actually got accepted. You're going to Hampton. I can't believe it. 4 or 5 different universities actually accepted me. 4 or 5, 4 to 5 actually accepted me. But my parents said, it's your decision where you want to go. We won't decide for you. But my dad said, but remember, that school is a good school. I think that school would be a good school for you. Oh, to increase my advocacy level. So I said, it's going to be a bit tough because before I go to that university, I realized I'm going to be the first deaf student there at Hampton. They haven't had any deaf students there at Hampton. And also, that school is my first hearing school. So I was a bit nervous. Mentally, I didn't know what to expect. If they would have accommodations for a deaf person and accommodations for a person with disabilities on campus, I didn't know what those would be. So I didn't know what to think. So my dad bought a mobility device for me because he thought the one I had may be too large for campus. But just trying to figure everything out. How to go to classes, how to get, if they had ramps. Because some buildings don't have ramps. So I had to find another way to get access into the building and either look for a ramp. If they didn't have a ramp, then I would have to ask another student to help lift me up so I can get up the steps and then get into the class. And that was tough. That was a tough part. Oh, I'll let you ask another question.
Oh, thank you. I think we only have a short amount of time left. But I wanted to ask Katy and Carla, maybe your thoughts about self-advocacy and working with other people that are deaf or maybe deaf plus and deaf with other disabilities. Any other resources or things that you're able to offer? Or maybe parents, kids, families.
You go, Katy, not me.
No, you can go. No, you got it.
Carla said, you go, Katy.
Oh, do you mind letting maybe Carlafrances or Katy want to be answer the question? Katy saying, okay. All right, I'll take the answer. Okay, I'll go for it. So advocacy is really, how do I want to word this? It's really pulling people into our group. And we have a group of, it's called Deaf, or actually, hold on. Deaf and CP. Support group. And so it's bringing individuals together that, you know, of course we have people that will join and then leave and join again, join and leave again. And we just talk about different concerns, how we can improve, what we need to do to provide. We're here to listen to others as well. We take feedback, listen to their concerns or their comments. And it's more of like a mother, if you will. Not exactly like that, but that's what it feels like. So we try to pull people in and get them involved with our group to support and help build new connections and relationships. So other than that group, there's also something that we have. It's another page called Deaf and CP Awareness page. That's for the three of us. We host that group. And what we do there is explain different educational tips or explain about CP, what our journey was like, what the different experiences that we've had in our lives were, and different ways to learn about, you know, just different stories, different videos that we'll post as well. For example, we'll talk about, you know, living life independently, talk about maybe like failed relationships sometimes. We'll talk about the approach to CP, just a lot of different things. Talk about college experiences, how that's impacted you, what struggles you've gone through. So if you want to know more about that, you can go and see our group. Again, it's called Deaf and CP Awareness. And you can find it on Facebook.
Yes, and also we have a women's group. Yeah, a woman's group.
Deaf and CP Women Support Group.
Oh, okay. And we also have more of a private group to more of a safe space so we can talk. And we talk about mental health. We share our mental health issues in a private room, in privacy.
Also, I wanted to clarify one thing. The Deaf and CP Women Support Group, that's really only for women to come in and kind of open up about our lives, talk about our mental health, talk about our health issues. And yeah, we may go off and talk about different things as well, but that's really the support group. And we encourage you all that if you join that group, you recognize it's a safe space and you're able to share something from that group. Of course, we keep it completely confidential. No matter what, we cannot share anything that happens in that group outside of the group. Again, we just want it to be a comfortable and safe space to connect.
And Carla's saying it's a warm welcome when you come to. It really is. And Julia saying it's for self-advocacy, people that have disabilities, that have a hard time sometimes self-advocating and or having a role model, someone teaching you how to self-advocate, having a support system, someone who believes in you. If you have none of those things, I'll let you know you have me. I will teach you how to self-advocate for yourself in different locales, because I do that on my Instagram page. I do that most of the time.
And Missing, do you all mind sharing this information so they can follow you if they would like to stay in touch?
Carla
You put
said
it in
we
the
sure
chat box.
will.
So Julia, you were saying they have you, but do you mean they have us?
The
No. I
people.
think us. You said me. You said they have us instead of just they have you.
Carla said, what about me? What's going on with me? Julia, yes, they do. They have us. For mental health, I want to tell you for therapy or for those practicing to get their license, keep in mind when you have a person who's disabled or a patient or a counselor or someone counseling, it's important to have you have a safe space to talk about your disability. And that's what we feel. So please, please, please try to do research to understand what our disability is, because cerebral palsy, there's different forms or variations of cerebral palsy. So there needs to be more research and more study about it. About mental health too. Cerebral palsy mental health is related to cerebral palsy. So please do your research for us, so you can understand how we feel when we talk to you. And please don't dismiss us the way we feel. Please don't do that.
Yeah, so it's really good to know that. If we have questions, we do have some questions in the chat box. I'll give you some options. You can either turn your video on. And then I think Brennan, Mel, your video is on. If you have a question, go ahead. So for deaf or people with disabilities, when they feel like they're being dismissed or they feel like there's kind of there's not a real connection with who they're getting help from or from the hearing community, those two separate experiences, what if you feel kind of a negative impact from both worlds or from both societies? How do we kind of bring that together? Yep, go ahead, Julia.
I'm sorry, the interpreter's lost the. I'm sorry, the interpreter's lost the person. Let me see. Okay, I can see you now. So for a deaf and a hearing person that has disabilities, I try to bridge the two, because I try to set up something to understand how that person feels. So I try to set up something with them both together. And maybe we can do that. We can get an interpreter to break down the communication barrier. That's fine with us. To talk about our disability and our deafness too. Again, I think deaf is part of it, the disability. And I think that's something we can benefit from.
I completely agree. Absolutely.
So I think it's just part of the disability. I really have a lot to say about the subject, but I'll let other people say something too.
So Katy's saying it's tough to bridge that gap. Like Julie said, you have to have an interpreter for communication. I think it's tough for anyone who really wants to include both worlds, but we can definitely work on it for the future, work on a better approach moving forward. I think we're still in the baby steps of seeing, where we stand and seeing how we can operate together to help both hearing people with disabilities and deaf people, deaf plus, deaf people that also have different disabilities, and how we can come together, how we can kind of break down that communication barrier. Did that answer your question?
Carla's saying, I think the same. I have the same answer. But I just want to add that sometimes people just don't notice that we are the same. We're the same person. We're the same people. We are human. We are human beings, just like anyone else. And so we should be treated the same way. Period. That's what I feel. I think we need to be treated the same way. Julia said, for example, there's a conference for all people with disabilities. We all can get together, deaf individuals, hearing individuals. But we need to find people who want to learn and bring awareness to various states. And I think that we need to learn how to meet in the middle for everyone. We all need to converge together and meet in the middle, and not just one time. I think we need to do that more often than not. Can you see me? So I think we need to work together. And when we do so, and we do it more than one time, that I think will improve the communication barrier and not be one any longer.
I think Brendan Mel brought up a great point. Just that stigma, that kind of like pinpointing what the disability is, or what the culture of it is, or what those labels entail.
Yeah, and we can get through it by supporting each other and by talking about it. Yeah, we need to talk about it. And also too, I think too, that with you and having others and being given the opportunity to have an open discussion in an open forum, that you can show that we support deaf and ones with disabilities. I see that often. Oh, I see that from other people, cruelty from other people, and it's damaging and it hurts us.
Yeah, almost like bullying, Katy said.
It does, and it hurts us.
I'm saying, yeah, that's exactly why we have to have this conversation, is to help educate.
Right.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your question. All right, are there any others? Now it's kind of an open floor. It's your chance to ask any questions you may have.
This is Julia. I just want to let you know that I do have therapy for my mental health. And I want to tell you that I do admit that I do suffer from anxiety and severe depression. For a few years, my dad was the first person to recognize that. Then my dad encouraged me to go to counseling, which I did. I went to counseling. And then At that time, the counselor had told me, I'm so sorry. We can't counsel you this summer because we don't have any students for the summer because this was during college. I'm like, I need counseling. I need therapy because the therapy helps me to be able to control those inside demons, if you will. And so I didn't have therapy for 3 months. So for those 3 months, I didn't sleep at all. I mean, I was willing to go to a mental hospital. I was willing to go there. Ones who have problems with mental health can go to a mental hospital, but they didn't have the resources to help people with disabilities who need help. They didn't have those resources. They don't have it through PACE. So they just said, I apologize, but we can't get you in because of your disability. And I just thought, that's a mental health issue. We have mental health issues. And my mom said, why don't you look for another mental health hospital? And she did actually for me. And that day, I was at my breaking point. The police came to my house because they were called. And the police said, what do you want us to do? And I said, I want to go to a mental hospital because I haven't slept for 3 months and I feel like I'm going to go crazy. The police kind of looked and, oh. And then I finally was able to go to a hospital. They finally took me seriously and said that you need medication, you need therapy, blah, blah, blah. And that was just Monday. I was able to get sleeping medication and I was able to sleep because I had insomnia. So they gave me medication to help me sleep. And I went to sleep quickly. I was happy because of that. And my mother finally found a therapist. And the therapist tried her best to understand me as being a deaf person. She did try, or they did try. But it just didn't work because there was no interpreter. So I met with the therapist for a month and I felt so much better. I felt like the weight was lifted off of me because I had therapy. Without a school, I felt so much better. And at the same time, I had support. Yeah, you have to have a support system. For the people here, I want you to get with other people with disabilities because we do have mental health problems. We do. And most of the time, we're isolated. We're isolated at home. We don't go out. And that's rough. I remember, when we were stuck at home for 2 years because of COVID-19, that was rough. I mean, it was rough for everyone, but it was rough to be at home. But my point is, you have to get the person out of the home. You have to get them out to have fun. Encourage them to do things with other people. If the person is depressed, do something positive.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Were there any final thoughts that you wanted to add, Carlafrances or Katy?
Thank you, though, Carla saying.
Katy saying, I have a little bit of an off-topic comment, but so just so everyone knows about, okay, go ahead, sorry. I didn't know if I was delayed. You mean back up a little bit? Emma saying, no, I think you should be good. Katy saying, okay. So this month, I wanted to educate people who may not be aware of CP Awareness Month.
I just want to clarify, the interpreter said this month is CP Awareness Month, right?
So we were agreeing for this month. I know typically, it's for like St. Patrick's Day. But I also want people to understand that I'm sorry, there's a freezing for the interpreter.
Moderate to severe CP, there's a huge range.
So tomorrow at 4 Eastern time, you can go and check out our Facebook page, and we'll have some more information for you there. I'm saying yes, please, Katy, if you don't mind sharing that link, if you can put that link in the chat. Katy's saying I will for sure. I'm saying thank you. Oh, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming and joining us tonight. Thank you for this chat. I know it's late on a Friday night. I really do appreciate that you all came to take in our stories and ask questions and hear our answers. Thank you to the panelists, and thank you to the audience. Thank you to our interpreters as well. Again, just thank you all so much for coming. And ASDC, thank you as well.
And I want to say thank you so much to Emma. Thank you for supporting us in this endeavor. I really appreciate it. And thank you, American Society for Deaf Children, too.
Great. Thank you all. All right. Have a great night, everyone.